We'll see how I feel today. Might do a little shorter one. I'm a little little later to start than usual and a little less focused today, but that's fine. We can usually get a nice thing or two done anyway. So I've got the same environment up that I've had for the past little while, and I'm just gonna keep on plugging away. So the last thing I did actually was create some somewhat functional setup for rotating rectangles in a nice, in my opinion, in a nice way around its own center point. And what I actually need to check here is okay, so the next thing to fix is how I handle the rotation for a circle, because it turns out that is incorrect, which is fine. It just is something I have to fix. So in order for this logic to work, I have to remind myself what I've done, because I threw it together at the last minute on my stream yesterday, so I have to reread my code for a moment there. Actually, let me. My desk is a little messy. I'm gonna just move things around for a second. A little better. Okay, so I've got this circle here. If I rotate it 0, I would expect it to be centered there, but it's currently rotating about this 0 point here, which is the problem I had with my rectangle implementation initially. And what I did with the rectangle rotate was that I kind of forced it in a way to have its rotate element contain its translation as well. So by default, that means I have to, so what I actually have to change in order to fix the circle, and then I'll have to do the same for an ellipse, is not scale, but in fact the translate element. Because if I look at translate for rectangle, what I have here is an additional associate transform to force this new transform map. I force into it basically so that the center points in a rotate are already calculated every time you apply a translate. Just sort of have to save it in there so that doing any rotation doesn't override it. Anyway, what I actually I have to check here for a moment. One thing I'm not sure of is if I actually correctly. This should work. See, it does, which is nice. Okay, so that things look okay in my current setup here. Okay, yep, things look okay. But let's undo this, keep things a little cleaner. There we go. Okay. And now we go back to circle 25 with the rotate 30. That should put it around there. What I want, of course, is it to not move from its current position. It just needs to rotate. So that means I need to take this idea here and copy that into the definition for translate element circle, which is what I'm going to work on right here. Let me split it for a minute. Right, so this should be, paste this here. There we go. Right, so what we have going on here, pulling the rotate or pulling the transform key. Oh hey, A-Pros just saw a follow now. Thank you, I appreciate that. As you might notice, I don't have any flashy animations going on the screen, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Hope things are going well for you. If you want to chat, go right ahead. If you don't want to chat, that's totally cool too. I appreciate the follow either way. Right, so so here I'm pulling the transform key out of the properties map of a circle, and all I need is, well, let's make sure I'm looking at the right key parts. If I make a circle here, 5, right, the property map is this thing from a circle, so it's going to be second from this. So it's CX, CY, which is center X, center Y, and then it just has the radius. So CX, CY in this scenario is actually pretty easy. It's just a direct pull CX from props, and then this one is just CY of props. Nice and straightforward. Okay. All right. Then all I need to do, well, actually this should be done actually. So what's happening here, I'm producing a new transformation map where I take the existing transformation map, and all I'm doing is, so if I have string to transform map of the string rotate 0, 0, 0, which is the sort of the default here that I'm making, it creates this map. Then the new transform just takes a thread first macro and associates into this value, into the rotate key, position 1 of the vector, the x plus cx, so the translation, the amount of translation in x plus the center point, and that gets put here, and then the same thing happens with y. And then all I need to do here for props is now associate into the transform key. Let me double check this, but it should be string to transform map, right? Oh. Oh, I did this the wrong way. Transform map to string is what I want, of course. Right, so this, assoc into transform map to string of new transform, and that should be it. So let's see. Right, so now we shall test it. Okay, it's not working yet, but maybe, there we go. So now it works. Right, so nothing changes because I'm rotating a circle around its center point. So it's not gonna look any different. But what I can do, pardon me, is have a look at the element here. And so it's got a transform rotate right here, which is exactly what we want. So this point here, 200, 200, comes exactly from this circle's center X and center Y positions there. They correlate 1 to 1. And then the rotate is just the degrees that you pass into the rotate function. So that works fine. So we can be done with that part. And then the only thing left really is the ellipse, and then we go from there. Right, so if I change this to ellipse 25 by 40 just for kicks, it's way off in the distance there, not what we want at all. I want it to rotate about its own center point, right? So that this turns around this instead of turning around this. So that's the next thing to fix. So if I just make it 30 again, right, so it's rotating around some non-zero point, or pardon me, it's rotating around the wrong point. So we just have to do the same simple change that we did here. It looks more complicated, but that's just maybe because I'm not necessarily writing this in the most straightforward approach, but it'll work just fine. And actually we can literally just copy and paste this. The only difference is the key here, but the implementation is exactly the same. It should be anyway. So we save that, and we're gonna have a look here to make sure. Okay, gotta refresh it. So the reason I'm refreshing stuff so much is just because, oop, that's gonna be a little error there. Oh shoot. The reason I'm doing all these weird refreshes is because this is back-end code. Like this is Clojure side, and this here is Clojure script side. And this is running here. This is the Clojure script REPL. Canadian Gamer Girl, thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. Hope you're doing okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, so I'm just saying that the reason sometimes I have to refresh this browser page, it does have hot code reloading, but when I make changes here, it has to reload that basically. You good? Just tired? Is it early or late where you're at? You didn't have a good sleep, or just been a long day? Good and tired is kind of a fine place to be, in my opinion, because tired is a solvable problem. You're in Alberta, but you got off work at 3 a.m. Oh man, nice late shift kind of situation going on, eh? Okay, so this looks like it's working just fine. So let's see. Oh man, those late shifts. You can read my bio if you want. I can't see it right now. Oh, I'll take your word for it. I'll have a look at some other time. My I stream from my setup is this is just my Mac that I develop on, and I have an old laptop that I haven't used in a while that I actually run OBS and stream on a different one, but it works just fine for streaming. But if you try to do anything else, it takes a little while. So I'll load up stuff like that at some other time. But hey, yammering about. Just appreciate the follow. That's nice. All right. Do you do any programming? Do you have any programming projects you work on, or new to Twitch? Your coworker suggested it, so here you are. Wow. Honestly, so welcome. It's kind of a fun platform, in my opinion. I obviously might be a little biased, but I enjoy it. I'm a little surprised that you ended up at a programming stream, a small one for that matter. It's it's a kind of a niche spot to be in, but hey, I'm not going to complain. I won't complain. Did you kind of just end up here randomly, or are you interested in programming? And by the way, if you're not cool with answering or talking about this stuff, that's no problem. Hey, Mike, good to see you here. It's a better place to start on Twitch than some of the big streams, less chaotic and nicer people. Oh, well. If I fit the category of nice, then I'm good with that. That's try to be. You're both, you got here randomly, but you're also into a little bit of programming, I guess. Is that what you're getting at here? Open book about yourself. I find that can be quite a nice thing, a nice way to live your life. Relatively open about your opinions and all that kind of stuff and the way you live. That's cool. I mean, I'm not going to be all preachy and stuff, but sometimes it can lead to issues, at least in my personal experience. But you know what? Everything can be problematic. We're all just kind of trying to figure things out as we go. But yeah, Mike, good to see you here. But that makes sense, actually. Some of the big streams I watch, like speedrunners or just general Let's Play type people, it's just background noise for me usually, and the chat is like always going, like you can't even read it really, so it makes a bit of sense sometimes anyway. All I can say is I've got nothing to complain about. I'm glad people are tuned in and engaged. It's fun for me, and I hope it's fun for you. I'm obviously just spinning my wheels right now. I'm trying to think of what I should do next. Oh yeah, of course. So what I want to do, in all these cases here, glad to be here again. Have I done any customization on my Emacs yet? Minimal customization. I have a, let's see if I can pull it up here. A config org file here. Oh, maybe I don't want to show that. Oops, well, whatever, doesn't matter. Let's see here. It's kind of not great. The most custom stuff I have is about literate programming, where you have just a few Tangle related functions, and that's kind of it. It's not it's not much to write home about, to be honest. And the reason for that is there's one good reason and there's one bad reason. The bad reason is sometimes I'm lazy. And the good reason is, well, in my opinion, it's a good reason. I like to I like to try and use programs in their generally more default settings. And the reason for that is, pardon me, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're using someone else's Emacs, or you have to install fresh and you don't have your dot files saved or anything like that, you're at least relatively familiar with the vanilla version of things, you know? So I try not to stray too far from it. The other thing too is you could spend like a lifetime customizing Emacs and stuff like that. And so my approach is more, I'm not unwilling to customize, but I'm just slow to customize, because more often than not I don't need much different. But of course that can change over time, right? So sorry to say, my Emacs is minimally modified, a little bit boring, but it gets the job done. And I happen to like the theme I've got, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's maybe a long-winded answer. Do you use Emacs yourself and you customize it a lot? What am I looking at here? Oh yeah, so the next thing I want to do is try produce. For rotate here, I have to make, so for translate and scale, I've done this already. I've got the element, the scale element implementations, right, which is just a def method. It dispatches on the key for the element type, and then I kind of wrap it together into I call it interface loosely speaking, because it just does the recursion scenario on things. Yeah, you've customized the heck out of it. You've got something called Modalka. I've not heard of that set up. So you could toggle between insert and nav type. N key goes to the next word, insert mode types N. Oh, so that's like, it's sort of replicating Vim's approach, right? That sounds a little bit like Vim, which has it toggles modes, right? Insert and nav mode, or whatever it's actually called, I'm not sure. That sounds pretty cool. Custom templates for to do and all that. Yeah, replicating it but within Emacs. That's pretty cool. So I actually have in the back of my mind the idea to force myself for some period of time to use only Vim. Probably like a nice Vim install, so that I can learn that sort of paradigm as well, you know, because people always compare Emacs and Vim to each other. And now, in my opinion, anyone can use whatever editor they want. I don't care. I'm not interested in fighting anyone about any of that stuff, right? It's like they're editors, right? You do what you want. But I think it'd be cool to be reasonably proficient in a bunch of different ones. So I've been thinking of maybe using Vim, and then kind of at some theoretical point in the future, just building customizations into whichever one I end up sticking with, you know. But the other part of me is lazy, so I stick with my minimally changed Emacs. Hey Biz, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. There was another thing in Emacs, Mike. Maybe this is all related, or maybe it's different. I'm not sure. Is it called evil mode? There was something called evil mode that I'd tried out before. NeoVim, lots of good plugins and such, and very well developed. Yeah, I've heard of NeoVim. That was kind of the one I was thinking of. You doing okay, Biz? That's good to hear. How's Clojure treating me? Oh, you know, it's moving along. I'm still enjoying myself. Still having a good time. Right, so let me see how I can build out this little rotate function here. And then test that out briefly. No refactoring issues yet? No, not really. Just issues related to, you know, sometimes my own poor decisions or what have you, but no, things are going well. I am thoroughly enjoying it and making steady progress every day, which feels nice. I like that. Let's see. All right, so we've got rotate doesn't take a scale, it takes a degree argument. When are you going to package it and sell it? Hi, Sayung B. Sorry, hey, by the way, everyone who's listening or tuned in, sorry if I ever get your name wrong. Sometimes it's hard to know. Glad you could tune in. Glad to see some Clojure streaming. Well, I'm glad to provide it. I really enjoy it. Biz, when am I going to package it and sell it? That's actually a good question. I don't know, is the real answer. I like keeping things in the open source and all that. The business case, I've got a few things working that I actually am working on, kind of not on stream, because I don't necessarily want to stream all of that. It's boring business stuff, you know. But I don't have a firm answer. But that you bring it up is interesting. And it's stuff that's on my mind is basically all I really want to say about it at this time. But all the stuff that I'm working on here, I really do think I want to just keep it all open source, because I like the philosophy of that, you know, sharing and building things in the open. But I don't need to get philosophical today. How's it going, Sayung B? Are you a Clojure programmer yourself? 100% of it, or just core? Yeah, that's a great question. I actually I don't have an answer. I've been you'd sell add-ons. Yeah, so I have been slowly trying to find examples of business models and monetization approaches that people take with open source, and I don't know yet which kind of approach I'm going to take. But selling add-ons, like you say, a structure kind of like that isn't a bad idea. It's on the consideration pile, if that makes sense. You're also a self-taught Clojurian using IntelliJ, but you'd like to get into the Emacs world. Well, it's cool that you're self-taught as well. That's one of the things that I'm weirdly happy to talk about, but like embarrassed about in some way, you know? Like, I only mean it in the sense that sometimes there are things that people say, or like a post that I'm reading, and like it's just a little over my head, or oh wait, I never knew that existed, or that this approach was correct, and I get like self-conscious about it, like, oh, I should maybe have learned that, you know? But on the whole, whatever. It's fun. But when it comes to the Emacs world, I am not a proper Emacs power user. I will just say that right up front. I set it up in a way that kind of works the way I want, and then I've been pretty lazy about customization and stuff. You're not embarrassed by anything, nor self-conscious. You're weird. Weird's good. Weird's good. Always feel like I don't know enough, but like you said, whatever. Well, so it's like, you know, the total as you learn more things, the surface area that you can see like around the things you don't know also increases, right? So like you're forever just recognizing that there's so many things you don't know. Just tune out the negative. So that's an interesting thing, actually. And I said I didn't want to get philosophical, but here I am thinking out loud. I think tuning out the negative is sometimes useful and sometimes not. And I only mean it this way. It's like, there's the kind of the phrase of, don't, or what is it? What's a good way of saying this? You don't care what people think, which I think is generally a fine approach. But there's probably a really close friend in your life, or a brother or sister, or mom or dad or something, who you actually do kind of care what they think, right? And then you kind of do want to care what they think. It might be some hypothetical person, right, whose opinion you value quite highly. And in those cases, you might not want to tune out the negative in some philosophical sense, Anyway, here I am pontificating about different approaches, Family's a different story. Can be sometimes. Can be. Anyway, I got... Man, in let's say 10 minutes, I was talking about Emacs, Clojure, self-taught programming, some... Dude, where's your gainfully employed job? What do you mean, Biz? Do I work? Not currently. That is the unfortunate reality. Referring to random people we've never met. Yeah, that makes sense, Canadian gamer girl there. Yeah, this is my passion project. Yeah, that's a fair thing to say, I would say. And yeah, so I don't work currently. That's not a story I'm willing to get into right now, but the world has extenuating circumstances, and I made some tough choices, and well, here I am at the moment. I'm doing my best to make the best of it, but yeah, that's the current situation in a very high level, hand wavy sort of way. Functionalworks.hub.com. Clojure jobs. Thanks, Biz. I'll do a little copy paste work on this here. Bookmark that. I'm not in any panic mode, right? I'm currently, for a reasonable amount of time, I'm quite financially safe, I'm physically safe. So, there's nothing immediately concerning, right? It's just you kind of stress out about oh, what am I doing with my life? Those kinds of questions. But I'm not sure that it's healthy to dwell over much on those things anyway. Man, I gotta say, I'm happy that everyone's participating, but man, oh man, this took a 90-degree turn from where I thought things would be going. That's so funny. During a pandemic, good for me. Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, I'll say this. I recognize that I'm actually, all things considered, quite lucky. I've got a bit of savings. I can afford the apartment I'm in right now. I'm healthy. All of those things are going just peachy for me. So really, I do my best to remember the sweetness that is a lot of my setup right now. So, I can only be so concerned, you know what I mean? I don't want to sit around and do nothing, but I don't want to freak out all the time, Welcome to Twitch. You're going to stream Clojure. You think you're going to stream bleh. You think you're going to stream Clojure and talk tech, and then you get derailed. Hey, that's part of the charm sometimes, I think. Honestly, it's just cool to me that I can stream myself programming and making mistakes doing it and have people engaged in chatting. That's really cool. I like that a lot. People want to know the person more than the language. Well, so that is an excuse me, that is an element of what I like about doing this. Motivation, etc. Yeah. I like being able to kind of portray the human side of design work, of learning things. You know, that's kind of the fun part for me too. So getting derailed, totally fine. A lot of fun. Let's see here if I can actually make something workable here. Okay, so I actually don't need this line here. But actually, you know, while the thought's still on my mind, we're talking, you know, pandemic and the world at large in a state of, well, you know, in unideal circumstances. I hope everyone is generally doing relatively okay. You know, that you're here and chatting is fun, but genuinely, I hope, you know, that everyone can, you know, take moments to be calm and stuff like that. So, you know, I hope everyone's doing okay. That's my wish for everyone. And okay in some general sense. I mean, if things are really a problem, like, okay, don't pretend that they're not. I'm not saying be delusional. But if you're here watching me on chat, there's on Twitch chatting, there's a reasonable chance that you're at least okay in the moment, and that's cool. Okay. Let me see if this will actually just work immediately, because I want to be lazy about it. Okay, so when there's an element and it is an element and the count of elements is 0, that means you have one element left and you want to do rotate element with the call of degree element there. Next condition, element, and there is greater than one element, so you concatenate the list of rotate element with degree. Oops. Still haven't been bit by dynamic typing. You need to invest next year. I think those are two different thoughts, right? I have not been bit yet by dynamic typing. I know you keep bringing it up. Oh, I need to invest next year. Oh, sorry, I lost the thread there, Biz. Sorry. You keep bringing up static and dynamic typing. It's funny to me. What is dynamic typing? Biz, you wanna field that one? I think you honestly could answer it better than I could. You know a little more about dynamic static typing differences. But it's basically related to you don't have to, in Clojure, you don't have to like declare, if I do def a as 1 runtime inference. Yeah, that's actually a fair way to say it. Like in Clojure, right, you can define a as 1 and then you can just do a times a, right, and it doesn't, you don't have to say like int, you don't have to describe it as an integer right away, right? The runtime will infer what Biz is saying, the value of it, right? But if I def a as a string like that, and then I do a times a, right, there's an execution error. But in a statically typed thing, right, it would, I guess not, it would throw this error at compile time rather than at runtime. Now, this is where my confidence in describing this runs out. I don't know. There's way more about static typing and dynamic typing and all that kind of stuff that I honestly don't know about. But the very basics are, at runtime, you just kind of pass your data around and functions will take them in, and if it can't work, it can throw an error. But if it can work, it'll keep going, kind of thing. That's a very loose description. But don't take my word for this stuff. There are better explanations available. Right, so yeah, I hope that makes even a little bit of sense. But if it's still confusing, feel free to go. If you look on Wikipedia as a starting point, find some references if you're really curious. Python is, correct me if I'm wrong, but Python is also dynamically typed. I'm pretty sure, right? So static typing is declaring your intent, and dynamic is conversational. Yeah, it is. Python is also dynamic. Yeah. It's like, so one thing, I would imagine that most of the languages, quite dangerous if you aren't careful. Yeah, that can be true for sure. Most of the languages that I think total beginners to programming end up using, they tend to be dynamic. Not necessarily because dynamic is inherently better or worse, but because I think it's one less thing to worry about up front, right? Like, if you don't even know what int and float and string even mean, you know, it's maybe a little cognitive overhead to have to worry about that all up front. Now, this is just hypothesis, right? I could be totally wrong, but in my casual observation, most languages for people who are newer to programming in general have this dynamic typing approach to them. And it might be because of the slight, there's a little, it's just a little easier to grasp at the start, I think. They're teaching Python in university much more now than Java and C++, from what I gather, depending on your school. There's a lower barrier to entry. Yeah, and I feel from time to time, like on Hacker News and stuff, people have pretty strong opinions about that. And I totally get it. It's like, it kind of does matter what you teach large amounts of people, right? But I do also think, I mean, there's this sort of more fundamental approach to programming that is more like when you figure out a way to think about programming, you can kind of more fluidly go between languages anyway. And so trying to teach that kind of thing is really hard, but technically independent of whatever language you use to teach, right? But that is such a that's such a high level thought as to be totally not pragmatic, right? So all this stuff is crazy. All I know is I'm self-taught. I learned some Python. I switched to Clojure because it seemed really cool, and I've got plans for learning all kinds of stuff in the future, but with using whatever languages are appealing to me, like Haskell. Biz always Biz occasionally brings up F#. That seems like a cool one. Anyway, blah blah blah. Use whatever language you will be powerful enough for you to achieve results that are valuable to you and or the context you're in. That's kind of my general approach. Because, you know, programs and computers are tools, right? If we spend all our time worrying about how to make the tools without actually making the tools, then, well, that's kind of a waste as well, right? So here I am, attempting to make a tool that's useful for me, and I'm just pontificating. Oh, what a lovely day. So this here is actually an example of a weakness of mine right now. This function is recursive, but it's not very well designed, I don't think. Like, I have this else branch does use recur, which helps with the tail call optimization thing, which Clojure and the JVM don't allow it. Sorry, you can't do tail call optimization. I don't remember why with the JVM, but using this recur macro, it automatically sets up a trampoline so that it doesn't create this massive stack. But anyway, but I have poorly designed here, in my opinion. I've got this branching scenario here where I recursively call here and here, but it's not using the recur macro. So like this works, but I really probably need to kind of think it over and optimize it later. But at least I think it works right now. I haven't checked it yet. That's a good way of thinking. If university taught me anything, it's that reasoning through problems is more valuable than spitting out code. Gone from Java to C# to Python to Node.js and a couple random other texts. Why is the function recursive? What's the output? Oh, yeah, it's recursive. So here, let's see if I can demonstrate a little example. If I do rotate element, right, I can pass in a single thing. So I could do a rectangle 40 by 50. Oh, of course I have to actually give it a number of degrees to rotate. All right, well, let me see what I've done wrong here. Oh, I do believe I have not, let me do load file. I have to reload the code because it's updated and I didn't update it into the REPL. stylo/svg.cljc, that should work. Okay, let's try this now. I think it'll work. Yeah. Right, so rotate element works on a single expression here. If I were to pass into it two rectangles, right? Like let's imagine I'm drawing a shape and it has two rectangles for some reason, which could easily happen, right? In my opinion, I think. See that? It only takes, it will only work through one. The other thing, so that's not recursive, that's just I want to build in the ability for it to work on a list, but also I want it to work on something like this, where I have a rotate element 45 degrees, but the element that I'm rotating is, for some reason, a rotate element 35 degrees, right? And then it's some element inside there. And that currently works there, but it doesn't work. Oh wait, maybe it does work. Would fold work? It might. So actually, that's a good question, Biz. That's tying into what I said. Like this function might not be designed very well, and using fold or an approach like that would probably be a good idea. But I'm not confident enough to do that on stream right now. It's something I need to. I'm going to be sitting and thinking like this, you know, and it's going to be boring on stream. Is fold not technically implemented recursively anyway, though? Or am I fundamentally misunderstanding it? Is fold, and actually, oh, it is, okay. Fold, now, Biz, maybe, is fold reduce? Is that the same thing, or are they different? My understanding might be a little weak. But let me see for a moment now. So I have a rotate interface function in place. Let me see if it'll actually work. Same but a bit of variation. Yeah, okay. So I use reduce quite a bit. I like it. Map filter reduce. Right, so I use map constantly. Filter, I use it quite a bit if there's nil values and I don't want them or something like that. And reduce I use, but there's still a lot for me to learn when it comes to basic category theory, as in if you make some objects and then you can use map to run functions over lists of them, or you can reduce them all for something like that. I don't use reduce quite as much because I still need to learn a little bit more about it. But yes, I've heard map, filter, reduce as very powerful ideas. And I've got map and filter I use plenty, and reduce is one that I know I need to learn a little more carefully. But let's see here. Reduce and fold are alternatives for for each. For each. Let's see here. For A, range 10. Well, okay, so a for will, this is a horrible example, but if for each A in range, right, do something. Whereas reduce, whatever. This is something I have to read on my own. If you're aggregating for a single output, that's not a list. Yeah, that's right. That makes sense. Let me see if I can come up with a trivial example here. I could do this. Reduce by addition a list of numbers. Or you could reduce by multiplication range 10, and that's actually but it has to start without 0, because multiplying by 0 produces 0. Right, so yeah, there you go. You've got reduce using some function, some list, and it like smushes them all together. Anyway, there's a reasonable chance that you can use that sort of setup in my rotate and translate and scale functions here. I just need to actually think about how I need it to be done, and I'll do that at some point. Okay, so let me just see if this works. It looks sort of promising here. Looks okay. Going to lunch. Hey Biz, have a good lunch. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Right, so I'm just spinning my wheels here. Let's here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna make a little list of things to draw and test out this rotate function sort of piece by piece. So what I want to do here is svg/rotate. We're going to rotate things by 0 as a starting point, get everything into place, and we're going to do svg/translate 0, 0 something, svg/circle 20. Okay, so we're going to do that with a circle, an ellipse, a line, path, polygon, and rectangle. Let's see how those things go. Right, so the circle is going to be trivial, kind of boring. Ellipse is going to be, let's do 20 by 40, and we'll translate it 20, 20. None of this makes sense, but whatever. We'll actually do, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, sure. Circle, ellipse, we'll do a rectangle, 20 by 40 as well. We'll do a line, and we'll do the line, let's see here, 0, 0, and 20, 30, sure. Path, and path is just going to be, let's see here. So this is kind of illustrative of one thing I want to build out here is little tools that let me draw things visually. So right now, in my head, I'm just picturing all these sizes and positions. I'm just drawing a picture in my brain so that I can produce it on the canvas, on the screen, right? But it would be way more useful, or my assumption is it would be way more useful to have little tools that help me do it automatically. So I actually have, let's see if I can pull it up here. Well, if I go here, this is just a sample. This is an example, right? Like I can physically click and draw polygons instead of trying to figure out how to do it all in my brain. So I'm going to use that arbitrary shape, and I can copy that and paste it into my path here. Whoop, I'm using the wrong keyboard shortcuts. There we go. And okay, so there's an error going on. I'm going to solve that, but I actually have to go to the washroom for a minute. I will be back in just a minute. Going to a meeting. We'll join next time again. Hey, no problem. Thanks for tuning in and chatting for a bit. I really appreciate that. Hope your meeting goes well. Good luck. I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. I got more coffee too. Of course, this is the cause of me needing to go to the washroom, but hey, I like coffee. I'm just watching in quietness. Hey, Canadian Gamer Gold, that's totally cool. I do find, and I totally get this, because I watch streams and don't comment as well. I totally get people wanting to have something kind of on almost in the background and not necessarily feeling the need to participate actively. So don't feel any pressure. That's totally cool. Yeah, I'm just glad people are here. I've said that a bunch today, but really I do appreciate it. So watching in quietness is no problem with me. And of course, anyone else watching in quietness, that's fine too. Anyone who does want to participate, also totally fine. I am just here trying to have a good time, you know? And to get a little bit of programming done. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, so this is just a parentheses issue. This is definitely one thing that I keep forgetting to do and should really just do, is properly set up parinfer or paredit so that I never have these mismatched parentheses issues. I couldn't tell you why I haven't, other than I keep forgetting to. That's really bad. Okay, so we don't have the error, but we do have failure to render, which is a problem. So what I can do here is sort of copy this whole line of things here and produce the same result in this REPL. It's very likely to fail on me, which is totally fine. It's part of the process. Unsupported, yeah. Oh, well, that's lame. Typo. There we go. Okay, so we've got we've got a problem that I don't currently understand. Isn't that funny, huh? Okay, let's see here. Let's get this back to, okay, there we go. That's ready for experimentation again. Let's break this down one little bit at a time here. Let's comment out everything except the circle. Oop. Okay. Oh, I commented everything out, including the circle, which is not what I wanted to do. So we have, oh, I goofed one thing here. Let me do SVG translate. Are you laughing at my my complete ineptitude when it comes to editing my code? It's amazing how often I do silly things like that. I'm comfortable with it. I've got no problem with it. Okay, let's translate this to 110. Okay. So this translate, I want to work on this entire thing here, just so that it's more visual, or more in the center of the canvas here. Yeah, that's fine. Make it 220. Perfect. You laugh when you get shy. Okay, that's cool. No reason to be shy. As far as I know, you're just, like, you could be a really sophisticated AI bot that happens to know how to respond to audio inputs into a text field. Now, I want to be clear, I don't think that's actually what's happening here. I just mean to say, I just see a chat window, you know? So, no reason to feel shy, in my opinion. Alright. Alright. See, this is the problem here. When I have a problem that I don't know how to solve yet, I just move things around. Like I've just been moving this circle, not actually doing anything useful. I'm just like shifting it around in the screen. All right, let's have a look here. So I'm gonna guess that this won't work. There we go. Okay, so that means there is, but this should work. Oh, yes, okay. So we have a situation where, right, so the rotate works on a single input, but it does not work on when there's multiple, and that I don't understand yet, but I will figure it out. Pardon me. Okay, let's have a look here. We have this circle is there, that's fine. We've got this ellipse up there, which is fine. It's a total digression for a minute. Is this going to change? Oh, right. This is going to be wrong here. Zoop. Oh, nice. Let's spice this up here a little bit. Hot pink. Nah, that's not good yet. Fuchsia. Is that a color? Perhaps not. Could it be messing up with multiple inputs because there are calculations that need to be run to determine certain data points, center of object or something like that? I don't think so. All right, let's quit fooling around with useless things that aren't helping me solve problems. That's a good thought, but I think so what I was, how do I describe this? So I have this function, translate, which does correctly work on, at least I think it does. Yes, it does. So this translate function works on this list of objects, well, except for this path, because I guess this path is broken. Oh, it's got to be a closed path. Yeah, we'll get there one day. Yes, okay. So, so this functionality here, this translate function, it works recursively, right? Because there's other calls to translate, and it works on this list. And it's not related. It works because of how I set up the function, and the rotate one, I literally copied and pasted it and didn't really change anything. So I know it can work. I just it just isn't working yet. But it's not related to calculating the center of the object. It's more related to I might be accidentally passing in a situation where I'm passing in a list when it needs a single object, but it's getting two, and I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't think it's a data related thing. I think it's a list related thing. I mean, lists are data, but I'm just explaining it poorly. Sorry about that. Anyway, rotate. So rotate's broken, but that's fine. It's part of the fun of fixing things. All right, let's get to this rectangle. Let's see here. Gotcha. Okay, so all I have to do is solve the problem. Simple. Right, so we have a situation here where you take rotate and a single thing of elements. So let me let's cheat and just put in prints for a minute here. All right, let's go back through the history here. This will fail. Perfect. This, if I just I wonder if the first branch isn't ever reached. Okay, this is, I'm trying to be lazy. Instead of thinking, I'm just trying to bash things together until they work. And it's not really a great way to do it. It's not really conducive to solving problems. Let's see. Well, let's have a look at the error here. Persistent vector cannot be cast to character sequence. Well, okay. So this seems to work on, okay, so we have this, well, let me see here. No, it's not working. Okay. This is also going to be like that. Okay. No multi-method rotate element for line, for dispatch value line. Really? Why is this? Okay. Let's see. Oh, let's have a look here. Is translate 060 of this line, right? 00, and let's do 2030. Is this translate? No, that. Rotate 40 of this translate. That should work. Yeah, so that still works. But as soon as I have double here, something goes wrong, and that is no method in multi-method for dispatch value. So here, this is what I mean. The dispatch value should be just the key line, but it's getting passed in the whole, the entire vector of the line, right? So instead of receiving this and dispatching on that, it's actually receiving this props here, and it cannot, there's nothing to match, right? So it's failing with no method, because of course there isn't a method for that. So something is going wrong at the situation here, I think. So let's see. Problem. Let's see if I'm thinking through this correctly, if I'm in the right branch. Yes, okay. So our issue is related to this setup that I've got here, right? So concat rotate element degree. Oh, this shouldn't be rotate element, it should be rotate. Is that what I've messed up? let me compare to my translate implementation here for a minute and see if that's correct. Yes. Okay, this is where I messed up. This is actually a perfect example of potential problems with copy-paste, right? So what I did, I copied my translate function, pasted it here, and was just changing function calls, right? Anywhere I saw translate element, I switched to rotate element. But since you're trying to do it quick, right, you can see, so what this did say before here was the word translate. And this said translate element like that. And as I was changing it, I went like this. I went rotate element, and then I went here and went rotate element, right? When that's incorrect. What it should be is rotate. This is a recursive call to this function here. So this is exactly where I was getting that error from before, because I was trying to pass a list of things into the rotate element function that only takes one element, but rotate takes any number of elements. So that's where the problem was, and it's from the issue of, oh right, it comes from me going a little too quickly with copy and paste. Now I'm not saying copy and paste is bad, but I'm just saying it can lead to those sorts of mistakes, which can be confusing to say the least, and really frustrating when you finally figure out what went wrong, because it's your own, it's a human error, right? It's not necessarily that the logic is wrong, it's that you edited poorly. Anyway, let's see here. Okay, there we go. So now this rotate function has a list of 2 items in it, right? All the other ones are commented out. And it produces a list of those items with their rotation applied. Now, the rotation applied was 0, so there's nothing amazing there. But here we see the line data has changed based on the rotation calculation, and the rectangle transform string here now has a 10 in it, when before it just had the 0. So that seems to be working. And just for kicks, I'm gonna uncomment all of these and see if it works on a whole list. And there's still a problem there, which is fine, I can work on that. I just need to figure out why it's now. Okay, so now we're on the I think we're on the 3rd branch here. Oh, okay, maybe there's something else wrong. I think the REPL is probably my favorite thing about developing in Clojure. It's not an exclusive thing to Clojure, it just is really nice in Clojure. That's what this is called here, where I'm running all this code, where I'm literally experimenting as I go. It's the REPL, and I really do love it. It's one of my favorite parts. It just feels so, like it feels like you can basically ask your program a question and it will give you an error or it'll give you data, and then you can ask further questions and build up this sort of intuition about the data that you're building as you go. I just love it. It works really well with my brain, I guess, and it's very satisfying the whole time. I am a fan. Okay, so it's erroring out before it hits the branch here, right? Because excuse me, it's actually happening here again, right? Is that the case? Let's see. Problem? Is it the problem? Is it a problem there? Problem. Okay. Let's have a look. No. Okay, so there's something going on with this is another example of my copy paste problem. Here this has to be closed path. There we go. Okay, it works. It has the appearance of working anyway. Okay, so let's save this, right? That's saved. Let's refresh this page here. After a few refreshes, it should work. This circle, why do I have another circle there? Oops. Save that. Hey, okay. We have a little bit of success. Let's zip this back here and let's rotate 25. Everything is turning. This is awesome. Okay, this is what I was hoping for. So what's happening here is every single object is having this rotate thing applied to it around its bounding box center point. So for a circle, you'll see no change because it is a circle rotating about the middle. The ellipse you'll see, and the rectangle you will see as well, and the line should also be pivoting around its center point. This big thing here is going to have a pivot point approximately there. I don't know the bounding box dimensions, but it should be pivoting around this. And that is indeed what it looks like. Yeah, it's kind of pivoting about that, which is pretty cool. Alright, so it looks like we have a rotate, which is really quite nice. Alright. What's another thing to start working on? Let me think about this for a second. Check my timer here. Oh, we're good. Oops. There. Okay. Right, so what I actually do need now is, pardon me, I have, let me do this, check SVG implementation for the rotate element. So I'm missing implementations for a group tag and for a text tag. I actually think the way I did circles and rectangles should work just fine for text. So let's have a look here. We'll go to translate element of the rectangle here, and we'll compare that to text. Text has a X and a Y position. Ooh, text is going to be a little bit of a pain because because text is, I don't know that I like the method I'm using for text yet. Let's go 2050 SVG slash text, and we go, this is text. Right, so that, oh, it doesn't, Why doesn't that work? I thought it would have. Oh, it can't work inside a rotate because it doesn't exist as a. Yeah, no, that makes sense. All right, let's pull that out of here. I'll make one here. Right, so text uses a fixed width font, and I have in the text element, no, in the shapes, if I go down to text here, no, that's not what I'm looking at. I meant to, here, text. The font width and font height, well, this should actually be character width and character height, really, and chars. Right, so what I'm pointing out here is I don't love this approach because it forces me to use the monospace font, and it forces me to hard code these values at the moment. And that's a problem because users can override that, and this can go, it's just not very clean. I don't know that on Windows, for example, I don't know that the character width and height are the same. I don't know if there's rendering differences and stuff like that. But if I want to be able to lay out text by its center, I need some concrete bounding box for it. And the problem is you can use JavaScript to get the bounding box of any string, whatever the font is, and then you could calculate the center there. But I need this to, like, this is running on the Clojure side, or it's interpreted or whatever on the Clojure script side, but I'm not guaranteed to be able to use a JavaScript bounding box calculation, especially because I might not know at the time of rendering the document here, it might not know the font that's being used, right? I don't want to build an entire font library into my rendering approach here. So this was the first thing I came up with for text, where you have the hard-coded thing and a fixed width font. That way you can count the number of characters, multiply it by the character width, and get the exact center of the thing. But the issues arise when, well, so these are hard-coded, so I scale, for example, I hard-coded it there as well, I think. Yes, so here, it's there right again, and that's not great. Although, what I could do what can I do? What could I do? Well, actually, okay. So what I can do, kind of, is at element creation time, translate, no, even before the translate, in the text function itself, I can do this. I can produce the transform string, rotate 0, and not 0, not 0, but I can calculate right up front these things here. Yeah, string rotate so it'll be like this, rotate 0, and then it'll be number of characters times the character width is the, oh boy, is the width of the, wait a second, oh, no, let me clean this up just a little bit. Right, it'll be rotate around center X and center Y, and here, CXCY is calculated by, actually let me do it this way. Transform map into string of the map rotate 0 CXCY. Since I have a function I built specifically for this, that keeps that part cleaner. We can make this let here. Okay, let me split that for a moment. All right, let's see. Losing my train of thought. We'll pop this up into the let binding here, and this y will also be this. So then x and y are just those values, and CXCY end up here, but I need to calculate CXCY the same way I did it in the scale thing here. Text here, CXCY is this, and this will change. I won't need to calculate CXCY in the scale element call. I can actually, I will be able to pull it out of the rotate transformation, which is baked into the text right away. So I can do that in a minute, but I'm going to pop this in here. CXCY is that whole thing. Close off that let thing, but here I have to, instead of just calling from props because it doesn't exist yet, I have to do X, and this has to be Y, and this now should, oh, got a little bit of a glitch here. That was a little weird. Sometimes that happens though. Okay, so now this should work, I think. Okay, so we have 0, 0 makes sense here because Oh, wait a minute. That does, wait, does it make sense? Of course it does. It's just the inverse of these things. So I don't need to do this here, but I do need to produce this here. Okay, that's fine. And then, okay, now I need to go translate element text has to do a little bit of groundwork here. It needs to do the same thing that the rectangle element does. So I need to do this. Copy these into here, right? Let me go up here and make sure this should be fine. Okay, that should be done. Right, that shape should be okay. This translate text here is what I'm working on now. Right, so it pulls from, oh, once again, I'm not done with this. This shape here, I don't need to put the transform in because I just am undoing the work here because I was editing things in the wrong spot is definitely the truth here. Okay. So we have a situation where text is fine. Okay. Now I produce I'm trying to think about what am I trying to do here? I'm gonna get up and stretch for a minute. I won't be long. Is it better now? I think I hit mute unmute twice there. Is it good now? I think it should be fine. Let me know if that's better. I think it should be okay. Can hear me loud and clear. All right, awesome, thank you. At least on my end. Yeah, no, I think I just forgot to unmute it when I got up and sat down again. Or I thought I unmuted, but I didn't, so we're good. If Canadian Gamer Girl is still listening, not sure if it was muted when I said it, but where I'm from, I'm in southern Ontario. I'm pretty sure you've heard of the city of Toronto, I would guess. I actually am not living in Toronto, but I'm in that region. I'm close to Toronto. Yeah, considering you're from Alberta. Yeah, it was a pretty safe bet that you've heard of Toronto. Yeah, Toronto is nearby. It's nice up here in Alberta. Yeah, so I actually I studied at University of Waterloo, and so they do co-ops, and I worked in Calgary for one of my co-ops, and I loved it there. It was quite nice. The city was pretty cool. It was really nice to see the mountains, and of course to go and ski, all that stuff. It was pretty great. Now, I didn't explore everywhere in Alberta, of course, so, you know, I'm sure there's plenty of beautiful stuff beyond there as well. Toronto is, I like Toronto a lot, but it's got a different vibe, you know, different feel. Okay, so text now correctly has the rotate situation going on there. We've got right now I have to change the translate element implementation here for text because I need to update the positioning as well. But in this case, CXCY is actually going to be a little bit easier. It can just be, I can just pull CX and CY from, so text, ASDF, its CX, CY values are right here. So I can do that by pulling let's see here, get in, rotate, I want to get in XF, rotate 1, should work. Rotate 2. Okay, that's that. Then I just need to create a new transform. And then I associate back into that spot. Oh, actually, I don't need to do this. I just need to, new transform is update in. Did I do it? Did I do it correctly? We'll find out. And then here, all I need to do then is assoc into transform xf map into string of new transform. All right, fingers crossed that that actually makes sense. Let's see here. Let's create translate 1010 text my name. Okay, so I need to compare that to 00 translate. So it correctly is moving x and y by 1010, and the transform here correctly has a difference of 1010 as well. So that looks good. Perfect. Okay, so our new text element, the shape definition is updated, the translate implementation is updated, the scale one needs to be, I think needs to be updated. Indeed it does. And it'll be the same approach, same kind of approach that I used with the translate. So I'll go back there and have a look again. And text is kind of a pain. I don't totally love it. Once again, scrolling to the wrong spot. Classic. Okay, translate element. That's what I need to see. Translate element, rectangle. Oh, here, this was confusing me. Translate element text. Okay, let's just copy the whole function for a moment. Get it as a reference here. I guess it might be smart to like make another pane and just have it as a reference on the side, but that's what a smart person would do. Okay, scale element text. Just like translate element text, I no longer need the character width and character height to calculate CX and CY. I can actually pull it from that's actually kind of a nice benefit here. I don't have hard-coded values for text size except in the text function directly, which is, if you're going to need to do it that way, it's nice to have that only in one spot, which is really good. Okay, so transform is just going to be the same thing, string to transform map of get props transform, and if that doesn't exist, which it will always, but if it doesn't, 000 is the rotate there. So that's the transform, and then we can define CXCY. I can pull out as get in XF rotate 1, and CY is the same thing but rotate 2. Okay, so far nothing has changed, and that's really good. So new props, you update the X and Y values by doing this multiplication here and this here, and then you get well, let's just do it this way. X, Y. No, actually that's not necessarily smart. Let me think about this one for a second. Right, so I scaled the font size, that's fine. I scale X and Y. And what I also need to do is create a new transform and then put that into the new props. So what maybe I should do it this way. I should pull from props. Yeah, I'll do it that way. It's not perfect, but it'll be good. Okay, so here X will be this whole thing basically. But instead of this here, I have to do X props like that. And then Y is going to be the same idea. Plus times minus Y props CY SY CY. So there's X and Y. Something funny? Did I miss something? You're just shy still over there. Oh. Let's see here. Workout. Yeah. Cool. All right. Let me see. Okay, let's see here. We've got ate some brownies. Hey, sounds like a good time. Yeah, I get it. I get it. You know, it's kind of nice that it sounds, yeah, kind of a good time. Nice stuff. You know, I'm pretty happy that Canada has legalized that kind of stuff, you know? I think it's actually a pretty good change, you know. It doesn't affect anyone who doesn't like it, and it just lets things be kind of nice. I don't know. I think it was a good idea. There's a lot of greenhouses where I'm at, and they a lot of them grow marijuana now because there's a reasonable market there now. Interesting changes. Sometimes you can smell it. That's the only downside, but yeah, some people like the smell. Canada's like the more mature and passive version of America. You know, sometimes it feels like it. I would say, I mean, no country's perfect, right? But it's hard not to draw comparisons sometimes. But I do my best to not worry too much, you know? Everywhere is more mature than America right now. It's a time. It's a time. Oh, I've got a automod message there. America's a bit crazy. You know what? Let's see. Can you just this is a total tangent for a minute. Can you guys see in the chat block there the command that I just used there? Blocked term. So I like streaming on Twitch, but there's some stuff I still don't know. I have an auto mod set up to, you know, block horrible language and stuff like that. And so sometimes it blocks things. And I'm just trying to learn the mechanics of it a little bit. It doesn't matter all that much. Anyway, yeah, you know, Canada in a lot of ways is similar to America, but there are some key differences, and currently I'm quite happy, I would say, to be, you know, north of that border. Yeah, so Canadian Gamer Girl, I have no problem with that, but so I have it's called AutoMod. It's a little bot that runs that just blocks language. And I guess that was on there, and yeah, it blocked it, but yeah. No, we're good. Messages received. It's all okay. Oop, what have I done? Don't see anything outside of the viewer messages. Yeah, okay, Mike, thanks for that. That must just be it must only show on my end. I'm obviously a mod for my own chat, so probably it's just related to that. Anyway, no worries. Just me fumbling around, learning things as I go. Oh boy. Oh man, I'm slowing down today a little, losing my train of thought. I could go for a little bit longer, but a little more tired than I was yesterday, as it turns out. Different between Canadians and Americans. We're not a bunch of sensitive Karens. So that may be sometimes. I personally try to shy away from generalizations a little bit. So one obvious difference between Canada and America is the population, right? Like Canada has a large amount of land and relatively few people living on it as a whole. America has a big country but smaller than Canada and a lot more people, like 10 times as much or something, right? So inevitably you're just too chill. That's totally fine, eh? Just too chill. I mean, there are worse problems in the world than being too chill. But my point was, inevitably, right, population size will very likely change how governance occurs in general, right? Like, if 1% of the global population is going to be some sensitive Karen type person, you're more likely to see Karen type people in a more densely populated spot. Just by numbers, right? Anyway, I think I'm not going to solve the world's political, moral, and economic problems here in my chat, so love skinny dipping at the lake whenever you get the chance. Well, you know what? I could get behind that. It being as close to naked as possible feels really nice, you know? Just let it be. Clothing is restrictive sometimes, you know? Nah, but I'm glad I'm living in Canada. I understand that, you know, life is way more complicated than my ability to solve problems just by talking, right? So I have sympathy for a lot of things, a lot of people, but I'm happy with where I'm at the moment. Being naked in general feels nice. Yeah, you know what? I completely agree. I totally agree. Let's see here. What am I actually trying to achieve with this function at the moment? Let me get in the zone. Right, I can do this now. I can do new transform is just going to be transform, it's thread first, transform, and we assoc in rotate 1, we just do the negative of x. I'm feeling like this is a little messier than it needs to be, but it's the only thing coming to mind right now, so we'll just let it be for the time being. Negative y. So that's the new transform, which leaves me with letting new props just be assoc x like that, assoc y, that should be fine. Let's take this, close that up, and oh, let me put it here. Let's also assoc, why am I doing it in this order? This is a very strange choice. Bit lewd-minded too. Well, I mean, in terms of conversations on the chat, I do want to keep it relatively benign, you know, as it were. But you know, I think sometimes the world can do with a little bit of freedom of thought in that regard. So you go, you know what, you live that way. You live your life. You know, a bit of freedom. I think that's nice. Okay, and we'll associate into the transform the transform map to string of new transform, assoc xy, update those. That should magically produce the result I want. We'll have to find out, and we can actually find out by doing this. Let's refresh this here. Okay, so where are we at here? Okay, let's move the text. Let's test the translate feature. That moved it here. Okay, that's looking okay. And let's scale it. Scale by 3. See what happens here. Hey, it worked. Sweet. I mean, I really hope it actually worked. And I didn't just make a bad assumption there. Scale, translate. Do I have Instagram? I do. I haven't put it on my social links in there yet because I don't know that I want to at the moment. But actually, I mean, so like, you've got your own Instagram there. So that's yours. So normally, so this is one thing I do know about Twitch etiquette in general is, so I'm not sure if you're trying to self-promote or anything like that, but normally that's frowned upon in the chat. Now, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but so thanks for sharing, but generally speaking in Twitch chats, we don't, or it's kind of frowned upon for self-promotion, but you know what? I'm cool with it today. Oops. Not promoting. That's cool. Sometimes maybe I just, a lot of people promote with their Instagram account, so that was just an assumption on my end. Want to see what you look like? Well, okay. It's loading. It is loading in the other tab. Nice. Now I've got a face for a name. All right. All right. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So before, same, yeah. So just to be very clear here, it's really not a good idea to post like really personal information. So please don't. That's generally not a good idea. So I will caution you to not. Yeah. Okay. Good. We're all on the same page. I would hate to have a problem arise because of that. So that'd be bad news. Where was I? Right. Okay, so it looks like scale and translate are still working, which leaves me now only with the rotate implementation. Talking for a bit, should decide, show you what I look like. That's cool. Yeah, it is nice to put a face to a name, so nothing wrong with that. Just trying to, you know, this is the public internet still, right? So I'm doing my best to not have people freak out or make mistakes and stuff like that, but it's all good. Oh, right, I should definitely get rid of this here. Okay, so the last thing I need to do is now rotate element. Okay. Translate element. Let's copy that over there. Boosh. Zip. Rotate that. Okay. Now, actually, if I'm not mistaken, rotate element by rectangle here, or what am I saying? I'm not even using the right words anymore. This should actually, I should be able to do this exact thing here. Wait, let me see. Is that true? Well, let's find out. How about that? Let's go here. Laziness. Degree, K props, and text. So here, what I have to check is if this function will pull in text the way I want it to. You apologize? Oh, for what? No need to apologize. It's all good. You know, I just want to make sure that that the chat platform is used, you know, in good positive ways. That's really it. No problem at all. Right, because you know the thing, like even if I see messages and stuff like that, right, and I could ignore bad ones, I could do nothing with sensitive data or anything like that, but this is a Twitch channel and people can rewatch stuff and still see the chat, right? So, and I have no control over who comes and watches stuff, right? So you know, I just want to, it just pops into my head like, oh wait, are people using things safely? That's all it is. You can totally keep chatting. You can keep talking about Alberta, about hobbies, you know, that like all that's totally cool. I guess I'm just surprised, you know, this is a programming stream, so I don't get a lot of questions about Instagram as well. You know? So it's just rare, right? Like I'm sitting and writing code, and then people asking about my Instagram is what? Why would people care about that? So I was caught off guard. That's really all. There are no problems. Okay, so this should work. And now we can test it. Okay. Let's move this text into, I mean, you look good. That's very kind of you, thank you. Ooh, I broke it. So, there is, no problem. There is also, what's it called? They're called whispers. They're private messages. So that's a function you can use too. Now, this sounds horrible. You've complimented me, and now I'm telling you about private messages. That's rather gauche on my part. My bad. Just that's very kind of you. Thanks. I'll leave it at that. I shall leave it at that. Okay, what's happening here? Text isn't working. Hey, there it is. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this does work. 45 degrees. Yes. All right, we're in the money. We're in the money. Scale that bad boy up 2 times. Oof, okay. So I'm gonna guess the reason, so you didn't click on this stream because you're super into programming, I'm gonna guess. Just kind of more of a random encounter kind of thing. Hundred. All right. 135. Everything's still rotating. All right, this looks pretty good. 45. Boosh. Okay. Let's just try one more thing here. Let's rotate this piece -45 on its own. Yeah, things are actually working. I'm quite happy with that. So Canadian Gamer Girl, do you do any like winter sports in Alberta, like skiing or snowboarding or anything like that? Yeah? What's your favorite one? Like do you prefer skiing or snowboarding? I know usually people, I like both. I'm terrible at both, but I like them both. But often people kind of stick with one a little more than another. Oh, that's neat. All right, so let me think about this. Read your bio. All right, I'll have to, now I've got homework to do. I'll do that. I won't do that on stream. All right. Cool, cool. Okay. Okay, so we have that rotate element that works. And that does mean all I really need to do, I think, is the group tag, which should be G, degree, K props, content, K props, content. Let's have a look there. That should be fine. Okay. Let's go like this. Let's get rid of the scale and the rotate. We'll just make the text there. Okay. Pardon me. Now all I need is svg/g tag. This translate can disappear. Okay. Let's see if I broke it. It broke. Interesting. That's why did everything go away? What's happening? You're playing strange truth or dare games over there. But you do you. You do you. We're all strange. Fair enough. All right. What's happening here? Let's see here. Oh, this has to be like this, I think, and content, and content. Will that fix it? We'll find out. I'm sure it does. All right, let's see. Oh, I think this probably has to be like that. Yeah, that should work. Save that. Don't know why this isn't working here. There we go. Oh, perfect. Okay, so that works very nicely with what I actually, what I want. Right, so you can wrap everything in a group tag and it'll kind of rotate about that group's 0 point, which is pretty good. Okay, is there anything else I can kind of get done today, or should I call it for the day? What's the time here? I think I should get going soon, because I have a few things I need to do. Offline's probably good. Let's have a look here. Okay, so I'm thinking right now, some of the things that I haven't considered really are applying style to all of these elements, right? So for example, fill, none, color, right? If I change this to hot pink, the group, like all of the stroke lines get the color hot pink, right? And obviously it can be whatever, it can be hex colors as well, so I can make it whatever, but I wonder if I should have like an explicit mechanism for users to sort of inject color data as if it were a kind of transform, right? So it could be something like you do svg/color, whoop, I don't know how to provide that functionality to the user. Really, it's kind of tricky. Right, like, let's see. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this one here. So shapes. Oh, what have I done here? Actually, you know, while I'm... Oh, what have I done? Oh, put a fake function that doesn't exist in there. Let's go Nord theme for a minute here and just get a nice different color for that, just for kicks, just for fun. Okay, let's see. What is a nice... Is this gonna look good? See, once again, I'm spinning my wheels a little bit here because I don't know specifically what I should work on next, so I just work on things that kinda don't matter. Let's try well, that fills everything completely. Ooh, let's let me see. While I'm here, actually, this is actually a reasonable thing to test for a minute. This closed path is going to have different fill properties than everything else. So what I want here is a different okay, let's go here. We'll make a, we'll use that, copy paste. Wrong buttons. You'd think, you know, I would know how to use a computer at this point, but that's not the case, clearly. Really? Paste? There we go. Okay. Oops, I'm pressing buttons in the wrong spots here. Okay, let's take the fill off, none. Okay, so this path, all right, let's have a look at a path here. Fill. Okay, let's fill. Actually, no, that's not what I need. I need there's like a path fill option, I think, called even odd or something like that. Oh boy. What is it called? Fill transparent, stroke black. No. It's like path. I think it's even odd, but I don't remember. Fill rule. Ah, that's what it is. Okay. So will that work? We'll find out. Fill dash rule even odd, right? One word, even odd. Strange rule, but strange name, I should say, but that should be fine. Okay, so we have here okay, inspect. Fill rule, even odd. Yeah, okay, it will work. I just need this to actually propagate through. Why didn't it? Maybe it will. Just one of those refresh issues. Yeah. Okay. So that's working. Okay. So this is now where, like, I have to start thinking about how I want to apply color data, right? Because the user can theoretically control the stroke width, the stroke color, fill color, all of that kind of stuff. but I want sensible defaults, and I want a sensible approach to applying those styles. That's a little complicated. Once again, it won't be long. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Gotta get a message here. Okay, so let's get back to fill none. Stroke, what's a good stroke color? I think I did have a default in the style. Oh no, that's the wrong spot. Yeah. Okay, so this here is part of this is something I'm not sure about yet. You know what? Since I'm not sure, I may as well create a little okay, so they're called transforms, but let's do let's see if this has anything useful. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just comparing so OpenSCAD is a programmatic CAD system. You write code and it produces 3D models, basically. I'm part of the library I'm building is kind of like that. That's a little bit of what I want to build with Clojure here. So all I'm doing is looking at the documentation and the functionality of this program to see if there's any kind of paradigm for applying color and things, to see if there's any useful ideas there. There might not be, but it's a good place to start. Where's the API? Well, let's check the cheat sheet. Oops. Okay, so there's obviously a color application approach here. Color, yeah. Okay, this isn't rendering very well for me. Let's do this. Perfect. Okay. Syntax, constants, special variables, modifiers. Those are like reader conditionals in Clojure kind of thing. 2D. polygon, text, import, and projection. That makes sense. Okay, transformations. Translate, rotate, scale, resize. Not quite sure what the difference between those is, but I'm sure there is one. Okay, color, they consider to be a transformation. Okay, let's have a look at that for a minute. Let's see what that looks like. Displays the child elements using the specified color. This is only used for the preview, as the outputs don't support color. Alpha value defaults to 1, opaque if not specified. Okay, so with that paradigm, I can I can do this. I could have style, style transforms. Maybe I should just do it like that. Style based transforms. Translate, rotate, translate, scale, rotate. Actually, you know what? Let's translate, rotate, scale. Perfect. And now I'm going to add another one, style, and then I have a little blurb here where I can say so anything that affects appearance. This, for instance, stroke color, stroke width, and fill. I think that's a good idea, right? So then what I can do is begin source here. Let's make sure it tangles into the right full file. Of course, we go like this. There we go. And we can I have to specify the programming language, Clojure. Define color element by, well, let's just start with that, and we'll use translate rotate element by transform as a basis for building out this idea. Right, so we've got basically define color element. Right, so the easiest thing to do is just wrap any color element you want in a group tag, and the group tag itself will have all the elements, or have all the style stuff applied that you want. But that doesn't really, I'm not sure that makes sense. That's not how I approached the translate, scale, and rotate stuff anyway. So I think I kind of want to directly inject into whatever object, into its node, the whatever style data. So how would I do that? I could do it like this. I could do style map, S map. That can kind of work. K props. Content, right? That makes sense. And what you return is just you just do the merge, right? Can you let's see here. Merge A1 B2 with this map C1 C2, no, D3 4, sure. That is one map with key A, B, C, and D, which is nice. Right, so this is I'm gonna just make a preliminary one function that does this and test it out on one or two of these parts. Oh, and then I'll have to go for the day. But I'm feeling pretty good about my progress today. Things are looking okay. Right, here we are. So fill, none. Why is this still... There we go. Okay. Let's make this just black again. There we go. All right, we're in some useful state. So what I'm going to do is test it on this closed path thing. But all I'm going to do is make this return K merge props S map. I forget which, if I have B1 like this, the map on the right maintains, is the dominant one, so it overrides the one on the left. So we do it this way, props S map as a start, pardon me, and that's that, and then content, and that should be the whole function. Let's see. Let's color element with properties fill blue, a circle of radius 5. That does indeed put the fill there. I'm realizing that this might be a little silly to call it color element because I'm arbitrarily making a merge, so this isn't going to be perfect, but it's just a starting point. Just have to remember that. Should I allow users to or no, what's to consider classes IDs with style in a CSS file? How can user attach class ID tags? Oh, right. How should existing things be overwritten? What's the better way to write that? What is proper precedence for style data? Should merge always put the newest or keep the existing? These notes might not make sense, but they're a starting point for me in the future, so they're useful in that sense. Right, so what I want to do here is try to run this color element function Let me refresh this and do this. So what I should be able to do is right here create svg / color element, and I should be able to put arbitrary, well, not arbitrary, I should be able to put fill and fill rule stuff here, and if that works then I'm good for the day. So if I do fill blue and then fill rule even odd, save this. Okay, there's a warning. Oh, right. Well, let's go ahead and delete this. I've double declared a function, which is not a great idea. It's a little unnecessary. Save it. Okay, and I broke something. I love it when that happens. Oh, perfect. There we go. Oof, that's gross. Slate gray. Okay. So let's just... Perfect. Okay, so that is looking pretty good. So that does also mean I should be able to do svg / color element. This whole G tag should be able to take a few arguments. Let's try it out. Fill blue. Oh, clearly not. I don't know why that happened that way, but that's fine. I'll get rid of it. If I go here, should be workable. There we are. Okay, let's just color the ellipse for a minute there, just to make sure that some things work. Fill pink. Oh. Oh, color's not a word. Color element. Yeah. Okay. All right. That is a good start in terms of styling attributes and how to kind of build that into the document there. It is time for me to get going. I had a really good stream today. It was great to have people chatting. It's good to talk about, I mean, some programming stuff came up, some non-programming stuff. It was just a good time all around, so I really appreciate people joining in on the chat. That was a lot of fun. Let's see, what day is it today? It is Tuesday, right? Yes, it is. So I stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, so that means I won't be here tomorrow. I'll be back again on Thursday. So thanks for tuning in. I hope everyone who is watching live has a good one. I hope anyone who watches this after the fact on YouTube or on the channel page, I hope that you have a good time too. Oh, Mike, take it easy, man. See you on the next stream. Yeah, thanks for joining in. Really appreciate it. Okay, that's enough for me. I gotta get some other things going. Probably eat some food, you know the drill. All right, I'll be on my way.